In 2010, a research project on the urban expansion in Mongolia, commissioned by the World Bank, examined the needs and the most cost-effective studies for improvements of conditions in Ulaan Baatar. According to the study, most residents of the district were relatively happy with their immediate living situation, their gear, their house, their hasha, their access to water. What they were most unhappy about was their broader environment, the pollution, the traffic, the trash.
Living is more than 1 million people and everyone is polluted and that traffic and all people's right is because of the reach of land, what we're doing the garbage, we are landfilling this land. But if we are looking for this, if this using the garbage, reusing plants, because it's still way of doing the putting garbage and mixing all organic and non-organic garbages, all of them. Yeah. Using this garbage system also has to be useful, profitable for companies which wants to invest for these systems.
The World Bank study outlines practical and surprisingly cheap solutions to fix the solid waste removal issues in Ulaan Baatar. It presents detailed feasibility studies to address the other major issues: heating, power, water, sanitation. The hold-up, it seems, is both financial and political.
On the road you can see there's a lot of traffic jam and cars, and also this requires us to invest a lot of, for example, we have only one line roads, we need to build flyovers, ring roads, tunnels, yeah. Also the sewage system, we have to improve, we have to invest, building new apartments, this is one of the very big problems for us. We're better left for the people, usually it requires a lot of investment, I would say, big much money investment. New plants, power plants, good infrastructure distribution network, building houses, yeah, removing irritated area, generating jobs, yeah, makes the people's life better. It's same all the cities, all the countries. Yeah.
And yet the challenges facing Ulaan Baatar are different. The large imbalance between rich and poor here highlights this. The World Bank study shows that although many apartment development projects are underway, these are not intended for the Gir residents, as they will never be able to afford them. Even the oldest Russian apartments rent for around $300 a month, while the average wage stays at around $225. Only 51% of Gir district residents have worked in the last 12 months. When they do, they earn on average 50% less than those in the central city. There is a distinct gap, and it is the struggle for work that promotes this.
Since 1990, the separation between the rich and poor have been growing bigger and bigger, and that's a big concern. You see a lot of extremely poor people out in the Gir district, in the city, and you also see some extremely rich people, driving real nice cars that I didn't even see in the U.S.
It's quite normal in other countries too. Yes, there is a large gap between two different groups, but what we lack is the middle class, ruling middle class. We don't have much middle class citizens.
They have just so much potential here. It is so frustrating. Like, you see people scavenging through the garbage, collecting all the plastic bottles to go and sell them to survive. It's such a small population, and I kid you not, it could be a mini Saudi Arabia where they're all driving Land Cruisers in this country. There are no ifs or buts about it.
Former Orange resident Ross Skinner has lived with his family in Mongolia for over 6 years. When he says a mini Saudi Arabia, he is referring to Mongolia's wealth of untapped mineral resource. Some estimate 100 billion metric tons.
These people must understand that they have coal seams of 50 to 70, even 90 metres thick, which is unheard of in the world. The Bowen Basin in Australia, some of the seams are only 12 metres thick. This is a fantastic opportunity. Just alone in coking coal, that Mongolia could become a very, very wealthy nation.
The most abundant natural resource here in this country is coal, coking coal and brown coal, quite different types of coal. Plus, they have just discovered a quite large copper deposit in the South Gobi, close to Chinese border, and gold, of course, and uranium.
The coal is mostly coking coal, a key ingredient to steel manufacture, and Mongolia is next to China. This year, 39% of China's coal needs will come from Mongolia. It seems unnecessary that Ulaan Baatar's residents should struggle for quality coal and with heavy pollution all winter.
Biggest problem that foreign investors face is the indecision with the government here in Mongolia. They keep changing their laws, keep changing their mind from day to day.
The government institutions in this country is not quite settled down yet, which means they change the law quite frequently. It creates political risk for companies.
Mongolia doesn't have the finance to do mining, but they think that foreign investment or foreign companies are taking away which they own, which is true, but the money will filter back into the country if it's governed correctly, and everybody will benefit. Everybody.
Criticisms of the government and their foreign policy are widely debated. But this is a democracy that is only 20 years young. Systems take time to develop, and as with all countries transitioning from socialism to democracy, there are challenges. Before proper checks and balances can be woven into law, there is always the chance for those in power to take advantage.
If they were doing the right things, and if through their hard work they became rich and the others are becoming poor, it'd be fine. But it's not like, everything's going in a non-corrupt way. There's a lot of corruption, bribery.
In 1989, Zorig was one of the original reformers for the democratic movement. He negotiated through hunger strikes, formed political parties, and was a member of the government from 1990 to 1997. His assassination led his sister to return from Germany, where she was studying to be a geologist. She is now the head of the Zorig Foundation, which heads the anti-corruption movement. She is a member of parliament and one of the most widely respected women in Mongolia.
We set up a Zorig Foundation shortly after my brother's murder. His friends, his colleagues, political friends, but also family, to promote democracy and human rights in general. But we also decided to concentrate more on good governance, on cleaner politics. So we've done a lot of work initially on educating the public on against corruption, promoting, transparency, accountability, citizens' participation. In 1998, 1999, we were one of the quite lonely voices against corruption. Of course, we still face many challenges.
Corruption is never going to disappear from Mongolia, and it's just a problem of being a very small society. Just 2.6 million people. A lot of people are connected to each other through family ties, friends. If there's a saying that if you just meet someone totally new, a stranger, and start talking to them for 30 minutes, you'll become relatives. And it's true a lot of times. It's happened to me many times. And it doesn't have to be full-on bribery where you're giving someone money, but it could be something like, if I'm a professor at a university, if a family member calls me up and says, hey, my daughter's about to go to school, can you let her in? Her score's kind of low, but maybe you can make something happen. Those kinds of things are always going to be there.
Corruption is still a problem, but at least a bit higher risk. And we also passed some other legislations, like income and assets of high-level public officials is now open to the public. Previously it was a confidential document.
But the closeness of business and politics has long plagued Mongolia's international reputation. Skepticism has kept foreign investors at bay, and creating a cleaner political landscape is the foundation step in a functioning democracy.